I have a rule here. I never argue law with lawyers because I'm not one. I'll ask you it a different way. Is there a case against Donald Trump that Democrats could hang their hat on and say, hey, that's going really well?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the Jack Smith case is, once it gets to trial, I think he's going to have a big problem.
And this is the Jack Smith case in D.C.?
Yeah.
So even if the court throws out those charges against him?
There are other charges in the case, but, and even in the ones that came up today, I just thought, I listened to the oral arguments. To me, it sounded like there was a split. You had the liberal wing of the party, and then you had the conservative wing, and you had Justice Barrett in the middle. So I think we'll have to see how it goes. But it's a straightforward kind of how do you read the plain language of the statute otherwise, and the language that comes after it. So we'll see where they go.
Are Democrats at all worried? We're watching video of Donald Trump today. He was at the bodega where that had been robbed, and Alvin Bragg charged the guy and then had to drop the charges. You think just sort of at all as cases are going against Donald Trump versus the election timeline, he seems to be racking up wins and things keep getting delayed, which keeps working well for Donald Trump. The polling shows that him playing the victim works well. Is there any discussion among Democratic circles of it might have been better to not bring the criminal cases and just try to beat Donald Trump on the issues?
I don't think that's how prosecutors should make the decision. In fact, I would be deeply disturbed if prosecutors were making a decision based on electoral calculations. And I don't think all the cases have gone all that well for Trump. You know, the New York Attorney General case that found the Trump enterprises guilty of fraud. I forget the number, $500 million.
I don't think it was guilty. I think it was responsible, but yes.
Liable. $500 million. And then the sexual assault case. Pretty astonishing stuff in my book.
Okay.
Now, here's the bottom line, though. From an electoral standpoint, Trump supporters aren't going to be moved by that one way or the other, apparently. I think Biden supporters certainly won't be turned off by, turn away from Biden because of these court cases. The question's going to be what's going to happen. They used to call them persuadables, but they call them double haters now because they are.
That's a new one. I like that term.
Yeah,
double haters. Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Probably accurate. When I was in the Middle East, we used to say, I have two choices, both of which are bitter, was the Arabic saying. You made a good point, though, when you said that shouldn't be what prosecutors are deciding cases on. And we heard today for the first time Joe Biden respond, actually in an interview with our Next Star partners, about whether or not he was involved and whether or not in answering the charge from Donald Trump that it was President Biden prosecuting him, right? And I understand the arguments that the DOJ is separate and Jack Smith's separate and on and on and on. But the fact of the matter is the President of the United States is the head of the executive branch. That's just the way the Constitution works.
Sure.
With double haters, is President Biden going to be able to separate himself from the DOJ that, by definition, he is the executive of?
I'm not sure, but I think the facts on their face suggest that he definitely has been separate from that. I mean, the liberal attack on Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, is that he should have brought these cases 2 years ago. And there's a logic to that, because that really would have, if he'd gotten the convictions a year or two earlier, that would have totally derailed the Trump campaign. And then you've got the Department of Justice charging Senator Menendez and other Democrats too. So.
It's gold bars in your house, I think, makes things a little different. Okay. Is Democrat, as you all are looking at this, we had George Will on earlier. We put the map to 270 up. We all talked about Pennsylvania, where it's coming down to. I have to think that there are a lot of Democrats, reasonable ones, who are wondering if the criminal cases do not take Donald Trump out, which so far they have not, and so far we've seen his poll numbers go up every time. What is going to?
I really don't think the voters are going to decide the election based on these cases. That's just my gut. And frankly, I'd rather them not. My view is that we have to beat him at the ballot box. Trumpism is, in my view, a cancer on the country. And, the way he's approached things, especially the every election you lose is a lie and sort of undermining rule of law and basic institutions. The only way to beat that back is to beat him at the polls and force the Republican Party to rethink their approach so that he's not the only voice they listen to. They move back towards, you know, I didn't love Ronald Reagan, but, you know, I miss the guy now.
It's amazing how Ronald Reagan all of a sudden Democrats love.
I tell you, I mean, you know, because he was predictable, and there were things I disagreed about, but you know, the Russia position, for example, he never would have done that. You know, he
would not have.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.